Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of the Pop Culture History Podcast. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me for this go-around is my co-host on the Unleashed series, which you can see on this very YouTube channel, the one, the only Mr. Daniel Crimmins. Daniel, we're talking some pop culture today. How are you?
I am fantastic. Love me some pop culture. You know, it's been a bit since we've done our thing.
Oh, yeah. We just wrapped up, for those who haven't seen it, we just wrapped up Season 1 of Uncaged. We will be coming back harder than ever very soon for Uncaged Season 2. Our first episode will be talking about the charismatic enigma Jeff Hardy, a.k.a. Jeff Hardy Says What?
And a.k.a. For the Nero.
For the Nero, I knew you'd come. And we're going to talk about a lot of great stuff on that show as we get into Season 2 and roll around into it. But today is a very interesting one, and you brought this up, my friend, for our pop culture show here. We're going to be talking about the last great decade, based off what Vanilla Ice said. The last great decade, the 90s, before computers and everything went to shit. Which, as soon as you showed me that video, I'm like, that is 100% doggone spot on, right?
It really is. Like, when you think about it, like, you look at pop culture and when things really changed.
Hmm.
I call it pre-9/11, pop culture. Like, back in the 90s, like, we had such a wild time. We had, there were some, weird movies, weird music. But back then, it wasn't as overproduced. You didn't have, like, auto-tune. I remember, and I think this is when it really changed, like, early 2000s, if you remember, there was a scandal with Ashley Simpson where she got in trouble for lip syncing on SNL.
So for what Daniel is referring to, for those who haven't seen it, Ashley Simpson had come out with her song Pieces of Me. This is when she was dating Ryan Cabrera, who is now married to WWE superstar Alexa Bliss. They were an item. Jessica Simpson, her sister, was still with Nick Lachey of 98 Degrees. The Newlyweds was very popular. She had come out with her solo debut called Pieces of Me in the early 2000s. And, well, she performed on Saturday Night Live, and you can hear that track in the background. On a Monday, I'm waiting. On a Tuesday, I am fading. Not even singing the song. And everybody was like, uh-oh.
And then the problem was, like, it started too early, and then it wasn't matching up with what... If I remember, I think now the performances aren't live.
No, they're
I think
not.
they do them first.
Yeah, they do them first, and then boom. Yeah, I think
this shit doesn't happen.
So this shit doesn't happen, right? And, well, that's interesting about that time period too, as well. If you look at the 90s, the same shit happened with Milli Vanilli. Girl, you know it's. Girl, you know it's. Girl, you know it's true. Like, this is the stuff that can't happen. I mean, nowadays, the other thing I can mention, Mariah Carey, who was still performing, you could tell she was doggone lip syncing when she was performing like Honey and Heartbreaker on her tour. We see it a lot more now. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, a lot of the talents get older.
And back then it was a scandal. Like, did it happen? Yeah, but it was a scandal. Like, it was like, oh, did you hear so-and-so got caught lip syncing?
It's the same thing when Britney Spears got caught lip syncing on her friggin' Baby One More Time tour. Like, it was a thing. Like, went over everywhere.
And you know what? To all the credit, all the negativity, the 90s did have some really great movies.
They did. And for me, like, I enjoyed the Scream movies. Yep. Like, everything from the Scream movies, from everything that we saw. Like, we had, the Mallrats. We saw friggin', everything that really was encompassed. Adam Sandler's movies, like The Wedding Singer. We had Ghost in 1990 with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. We had a mixed bag. We had such a variety of movies in the 90s.
Yeah. And it was just back, and like, okay, so your slasher movies, in the past, you had your killer and, you had the formula. Scream was for the first time, really, when a slasher movie made fun of itself with its own formula.
Yep.
And you had the Randy character mentioning the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? To credit, I really enjoyed the first two Scream movies.
Me too. I think when we got to like Scream 3, what was Scream 3? Like early 2000, right?
I think so. It's maybe 01, maybe.
For me, that's kind of when it kind of went, I remember the Scream movie that revitalized and rejuvenized like the late 2000s, early 2010s. Like, it was okay, but like, yeah.
It was 2000. It was
2000. Thank you.
release date February 4 of 2000.
Yes, because I remember the preview of it, but I just remember thinking like it was okay. Like, it wasn't the best.
Yeah. And now the new Screams, the last two have been absolutely fantastic. If you've never seen them, like, you gotta check them out.
I have seen those. I really enjoyed it. I think what they've done and how they reprieved the series was great. It kind of reminds me of like we talk about like the differences. Like I remember like I love the whole I know what you did last summer thing with Jennifer Love Hewitt and all them. But remember then they put I still know what you did last summer and then it like sucked. Like it was like horrible. It was terrible. Do not watch that movie, folks.
And I will say one of the absolute worst movies to come out of the 90s.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, Part 9, Jason Goes to Hell, aka The Final Friday. Released August 13th, 1993.
That one was dog shit. I remember what here's the thing. I remember I was like one at this time, folks. I was I was just coming into the wild, but I remember watching it years and years later. It sucked. It was really bad. It kind of reminds me of when like Halloween Resurrection came out in 2002 and that was the biggest piece of horse shit ever.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
Fucker. Trick or treat, motherfucker. Fucking Busta Rhymes in the fucking movie. Like, it was terrible. It was horrible. Do not watch Halloween Resurrection.
You know, but it was horrible. Like they were trying to turn it into like some Evil Dead kind of freaking thing. And then like you have Jason Voorhees, which you find out it was some evil spirit, some demon was like invasion of the body snatchers bullshit, going from body to body trying to get reborn. And then it transfers from one body to the other by eating. Okay, that makes sense.
Right? It was such a mixed bag. And I mean, 2002, I mean, you also had freaking Cabin Fever, which
Mhm.
was another interesting one. You had Ghost Ship from early 2000s, which a lot of people crapped on, which rightfully so. You had 13 ghosts. You
Which
had a lot of those.
let me say this about Ghost Ship.
Ghost Ship, yeah.
Ghost Ship is essentially Event Horizon, which was essentially Hellraiser.
Yep, it was. It was. It was a terrible movie, but it was something to see.
And since we're talking 90s, Event Horizon, which I love that movie.
It was one of my favorites too. I mean, for me, just everything that they put into it from the start to finish, it's something to see. It's a great storytelling piece, and it's one of those ones that just like it gets at your heartstrings, but also it's just like so impactful, and it really is you're on for a fucking ride during that
Yeah.
movie.
I mean, it's kind of like I mentioned, it's kind of like Hellraiser in space,
Yeah.
but for its time, it didn't do that well.
Mhm.
But it's one of those ones I would love to see a remake. And we all know how messed up certain scenes in that movie were.
Uh-huh.
Supposedly, there was a cut of the movie, an earlier cut that was so violent, it, they didn't even have a rating for it.
It kind of reminds me of like if you remember like the horror movies like back in the day from like I Spit on Your Grave and everything is just fucking chopping off penises and everything. It reminds me of like those violent type movies.
And I guess the studio said, "Yeah, you got to cut this." And I guess what it was, if you remember the movie, it's like where they see the footage of the old crew and like what happened.
Huh?
I guess there were scenes where you actually see what really happened to them.
Ugh. Yeah, that's going a little too far. That's over the line right there.
And they found like a couple of scenes, but the original cut is missing. And I guess where they found it, uh, the quality of the film reel was so degraded. Like just When I say degraded, I don't mean like reviewed, just that the quality of the actual reel itself, like it was improperly stored, so it's lost.
Well, that's the thing about movies too. They make you feel they can go over the line. Like if you remember, like a lot of movies in the '90s, there was a lot like pet deaths. Like if you remember, Single White Female, she fucking chucks the dog over the fucking balcony, and then you look at fucking Fear with Mark Wahlberg and Reese Witherspoon, like they chop the dog's head off. Like there was a lot also with pet mutilation in films. Like that was like one of the key components of like horror films. Like okay, we're gonna kill the dog, we're gonna kill the cat, we're gonna do stuff. Like that was another one that was big. But I mean, the storyline of Fear with Mark Wahlberg really coming into his own, being this fucking douchebag, like being like this douche to Reese Witherspoon. If you think about it, it's really effed up because the character he plays, David, he's like in his early 20s, and Reese Witherspoon's supposed to be 16, and it gives you that vibes, but also shows how sick and good Mark Wahlberg can play a sicko. You know what I'm saying?
And the whole Wahlberg family, like Donnie, even
Well,
you know,
when he's in The Sixth Sense and fucking he kills Bruce Willis.
and now like, you don't even realize it was him.
I had no idea until years later that it was Donnie Wahlberg.
I didn't know until a couple years ago.
No, they didn't. I love the '90s on VH1, and they said it was Donnie Wahlberg, and I'm like, he lost all that weight to play that character and kill Bruce Willis. Oh my god,
It's all your fault, Donnie.
it's all your fault, Donnie. And that was a great movie too. Like the whole entire time, he didn't know he was dead and whatnot. But I mean, you could kind of tell that during some stuff when like he's there and he's like trying to pay for the check, and then the wife takes it and just walks away. You can't hear. Like there's many instances in that film where you can tell, like, okay, there's something going on with him, and then you realize at the end he's dead, and then it comes back to realization of what happened. It's a very interesting movie. It's 24 years old, but it's one of Bruce Willis' best movies.
Oh yeah, easily one of his best. And we also got some of the Batman movies. We got Batman Returns,
Yep.
Batman Forever, Batman, and that one that I don't like to talk about, Batman and Robin.
Oh God, fucking. Oh God, who's the one who played Robin? Chris something. What the hell was that dude's name?
O'Donnell, Chris O'Donnell.
It's fucking O'Donnell. Here's the thing. I don't hate Chris O'Donnell, but when they did Batman and Robin with fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger and the whole nine, it's a piece of dog shit. It is a fucking yes, fucking George Clooney, the whole nine. It's dog shit.
Batman, the Batsuit had nipples.
Do not see Batman and Robin. And I have all the Batmans. I have that on DVD. And I wish I didn't have it on DVD, but I have all the Batmans myself. Like Batman Forever with Val Kilmer. Well, okay, what would you rather take? Because people always talk about the worst ones. Would you rather take Batman and Robin or Batman Forever?
Batman Forever.
All day. Val Kilmer, Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face.
Yep. That happened.
And I would say he was the perfect person.
He was such a good character. Like some of my favorite movies for him around the time, of course, Men in Black rates up there. It's a very underrated one with his. Remember Double Jeopardy with him and Ashley? If you've never seen Double Jeopardy, this man plays a cop, and he's just Ashley Judd, friggin'. They think like she murdered her husband, which he just takes off and becomes a whole new different person and has all this money. Oh my God, what a dick!
So there's basic premises. Ashley Judd's character gets arrested for supposedly killing her husband.
Killing the husband.
They're out on a cruise. Like she wakes up and like there's blood everywhere.
Yep.
Well, you find out husband's not dead.
No, he moved, changed his name, and he's like this big shot in Louisiana.
I mean, was it a great movie? No.
But it had some moments.
But Batman Forever, good movie.
It was. I would definitely take that over. Again, folks, one of the most god-awful movies, Batman and Robin. Made no sense. Chris O'Donnell as Robin. The whole plot sucked.
Now, supposedly, the reason they replaced Kilmer was apparently he was impossible to deal with on the set.
Okay, see, I had no... So he didn't get along with anybody on the set?
No. No. The director hated him. I guess they got, Christian Bale, and I'm a Christian Bale guy.
I've been a Christian Bale fan since American Psycho. I'm right there with you.
And he gets a lot of crap for how he is.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, Val Kilmer was very difficult to work with.
I mean, you look at Val Kilmer's work, like of course Tom Cruise, Top Gun. It's just
And my personal favorite, which also is a '90s film, Tombstone.
I'm your Huckleberry, Daniel Crimmins. I'm your Huckleberry. That's all I got to say about Tombstone, brother. It's such a good movie. For those who have not seen it, Wyatt Earp, Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer. The whole movie is so good. Like the way that they did everything, they lined everything up. It's a masterpiece of cinematic films.
Oh yeah, I mean, is it entirely accurate?
No, but I'm your Huckleberry.
What? People don't want reality.
They don't. They want to see some, adaptation of it, but they don't want the whole thing.
It's like whenever you see a movie that says inspired by true events.
Is it really?
Like to what level?
To what level? Exactly. But no, and I think for me, like also with the '90s, like we talk about movies. For me, I mean, you had all those like high school teen movies. You had like She's All That with Freddie Prinze Jr. You had all those movies. You had American Pie, which still like I saw the commercial with Jason Biggs and Sean William Scott. Still, 24 years later, it's awesome. But those movies have become so iconic for their humor and their relation to high school. Like you cannot go wrong with like an American Pie movie. I think I kind of dipped after. Oh, geez. They did like the Bandcamp ones that were not good. Those are the direct-to-DVD ones. But
Yeah.
which one did you stop for? Because I remember I saw American Reunion. I thought it was good. But which one did you stop after?
Well, I stopped after American Wedding.
You were not a fan of American Wedding and Finch and Getting It On with Jennifer Coolidge?
See, that American Wedding was my last one just because I didn't like that they didn't get everybody back.
No, they got Thomas Ian Nicholas. They got Jason Biggs. They got a lot of people. They got Sean William Scott. They got Finch. I mean, there was a couple people that were missing, yeah.
They didn't get Oz. They didn't get Mina Savari back.
Yep.
Which the story I heard was that they wanted too much money.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. When you don't get your characters back, it doesn't make for a great movie. Like, I'll be honest. Like, dude, I love The Lost Boys. 1987, one of the cult classics of comedy and horror. But then they did Lost Boys, the second one, which was like, they were skaters, skating vampires, and it just was terrible. It was very goth-esque. And then you see Corey Haim, God rest his soul, at the end. Apparently, he's a vampire. And, like, what? It made no sense. It made no sense.
But it was a good time.
It was. I mean, what I liked about the '90s too as well. We talked about this when we were talking about our stuff of what we would do with WCW on Uncaged. God dang it, man! Like TRL became a revolutionary tool for MTV with the top 10 countdowns, and it was fully focused on music. Yeah, you may have had like Undressed over here, you may have had Singled Out over here, Say What Karaoke, but that channel was predominantly featuring on what it is supposed to be, music. And now, well, this is reality television and bullshit, like Not So Sweet 16, The Jersey Shore, Catfish, Teen Mom, and we've gone so far away from music.
Like, do they have any music shows left on that channel?
They tried to do TRL again, but it's like with everything now with YouTube Vivo and streaming and everything, it doesn't make any sense.
No. I still remember Tom Green and the Bum Bum song.
My bum is on the cat. My bum is on the dog.
My bum is on the Swedish.
The Swedish. Tom Green. Okay, here's the funny part about it. Do you know, I'll make this wrestling related. Do you know they were originally going to have Tom Green be the guy behind GTV? And Vince saw Tom Green's footage and he's like, he's not funny, pal. And then was it going to be Goldust?
Really?
He's going to have Tom Green coming because Tom Green was hot. And then somebody showed Tom Green's comedy and the Tom Green show to Vince. And Vince was like, no. No bum bum song for me, pal.
But that's not funny?
I don't understand it. But no, and dude, that song went to #1 on TRL. #1 on TRL, the bum bum song.
The day it did, he's like, I want to retire the song.
Yes, that was the best part. He's like, I retire the song. I'm #1 on TRL. That's it.
And everyone's just like, wait, what's going on here? What are you doing?
What are you doing here, Tom? But no, that was the thing too. Like, were you a fan of the Tom Green show in itself?
Not really.
It wasn't my thing too. I mean, I felt bad when he got testicular cancer. Like the big thing that I remember about Tom Green at the time was he was dating Drew Barrymore and he got testicular cancer, which was horrible. And then Freddy Got Fingered came out. Daddy, would you like some sausage? Daddy, would you like some sausage? Probably voted one of the worst movies ever made.
And then everything he did, like
Stealing Harvard was another one that came out. That was like 2002, but that movie was terrible.
Now you want to talk bad movies, and it kills me to say it. Halloween H2O.
Ugh, that. You know what it is for me? Like I like all the original Halloweens, but as we get, like we mentioned Halloween Resurrection before, like as we get the Halloween H2O, and then all right, I'm gonna throw it out to you. The Rob Zombie Halloweens. Were you a fan of the Rob Zombie ones?
Okay, so
we're gonna go here, folks. We're gonna go here with Rob Zombie.
We're going there. You know, you open this door, I'm walking through it.
We're walking through. Here we go. Ahead, Dan.
The second one he did, absolutely not. I thought it was stupid. It made no sense. It was a Rob Zombie movie. You know, if folks, if you like that kind of stuff, if you like Rob Zombie,
cool.
I'm sorry. You have a lousy taste in movies.
Well, all right. Since you opened this door, I'm gonna walk through with it, man. We're gonna go here. House of a Thousand Corpses. Like I hated that. Like I don't know what it is. Like it was big. They hyped it up like in the movie theaters, coming whenever. And then I watched it. I'm like, this is what the fucking hype was for. Like I'm sorry. Like I like Rob Zombie as a musician. Like I like his music. I like the Sinister Urge, man. You know, I feel so numb. Yeah. Like I like Rob Zombie as a musician. As a director, meh. You know what I'm saying? I remember watching that first Halloween he did, and I was like, okay. But yeah, when we got to the second one, it fell off a fucking cliff.
Now, what I will say,
Good.
The first Halloween that Rob Zombie did, the theatrical version,
yes,
was fine.
Yes, correct.
The director's cut, and I think you know what the scene I am talking about.
Yeah.
Folks, I'm not really going to go in too much depth, but just say it involves sexual assault.
Yeah, that kind of took me out of the movie. That took me out of it.
Michael didn't do it, but like it was right in his room, and like that's how he gets out.
It just, you know what it reminds me of? I remember because I graduated high school in 2010. Like I loved the Nightmare on Elm Street stuff. You and I love it a lot. Freddy Krueger. I love my Freddy Krueger. Everybody loves their Freddy Krueger. But when they did the remake in like 2010, oh.
Now, see, here's the thing.
All right.
I am a big fan of the guy that played him. Jackie Earl Haley, I think, was fantastic. He was great in the movie Watchmen, which I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I've seen it. Yep. It's good stuff.
Great in that as Rorschach. And the Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake, the script was not bad. It wasn't. The problem was they kept changing the special effects. And they tried to make Freddy look more human.
Which you don't do to Freddy Krueger. I'm sorry.
And part of the problem is, you know, it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like Halloween and, you know, Friday the 13th, where you might have, you know, one actor who might do like 2 movies and then they get somebody else. Up until this one, Robert Englund did all of them.
Right.
You know, he did all, I think there was maybe 8 or 9 of them at the time. I don't know how many they're up to.
There's got to be like 8 or 9 because I remember, like, again, when that series first started, going to the 90s and really watching, catching up with it, like the stories just kept going good and good and good. Much like Friday the 13th, there's like a dip there, and then there's like everything. Like sometimes it can be too much of a good thing, but once you get to like that, yeah, there's so many different incarnations of it. And for me, it's like, all right, I'll throw one at you. The Final Destination series, like mind you, that's 2000, but when they got to like after the roller coaster, and then it's like the racetrack, and then it's the bridge, and then it's this one. They did like 5 or 6 of those doggone things.
Yeah,
it was too many.
I will say, to their credit, I will not if I'm on the highway, I will not travel behind a semi that has logs on it.
Yes, that's the bridge one. Yeah, that was the bridge
one.
No. I'm right there with you. I get it.
Like if I'm on the highway and I see that, and I see a truck that has, you know, logs on it, I'm in the other lane.
I concur.
And I will speed past it. I will get in front of it. I won't even be anywhere to the side or rear of it. No.
Not gonna do it. No, it's like the thing where people had like a fear of flying, like after the first two, and then also not the roller coaster. Remember the scene where like the girl's in the tanning bed, and then the tanning bed blows up. Like a lot of people didn't want to go tanning after that.
Which maybe people shouldn't,
Hey, it only just here's the thing, man. I mean, we've come so far with like the tanning. People think about the Jersey Shore and gym tan laundry and all that, like it's for douchebags. I mean, it does cause a lot of problems for people who do tan, and people don't realize the effects of tanning. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we noticed it. We all talked about it when tanning first became like a thing. But I mean, it really became over the years. You find out what goes into actually the tanning beds and these tanning salons.
Yeah, like I look at it this way. What it is, if you really think about it, you're basically on a hot dog roller.
Okay, that makes sense.
You're cooking.
Yep.
You're just not rolling around. Like you're the hot dog, people.
You're the hot dog, right? And I mean, there are stand-up tans, but here's the thing: most people lay down. The stand-up tannings is just like you go in, and I've done it before in the past. I don't do it anymore. You just stand in there. You can, be whatever, and you just sitting up there, just letting the sun just rise on you. It's interesting, but it's just like, yeah. I mean, people do it. You know what I'm saying? People do it, but I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't. After a while, you don't get the satisfaction of it anymore. It's like, all right, I'm going to sit, and then maybe I might stand. It's something though. It's something. People just like to tan.
Yeah, to each their own.
Each their own. I get it. I mean, we're both pale white boys, so
yeah. I blame my my Eastern European heritage. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
this.
We talk about '90s, and I think every franchise has had some really really bad entries.
Yes.
I think we would be remiss if we did not talk about Halloween 6.
God.
The Curse of Michael Myers.
Dog shit. Dog shit.
Now, to give you all an idea, the guy that directed this, a guy named Daniel Ferrens,
Mhm.
he had never directed before.
Mhm.
Now, initially, the initial plan with this movie was going to be Quentin Tarantino was going to do it.
Right.
I don't know what happened, but yeah, we were going to get, a Quentin Tarantino Halloween movie, which I'm kind of curious to see what that would have looked like.
I think with the premise and everything, and you have a great director like Quentin Tarantino, it's interesting the possibilities that they could have had. But the issue is too, like I said, too many things in the franchise. And once we got the Halloween 6, I felt the same way when that Friday the 13th came out. What, like 2007 to the 2009 time frame? I'm like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, no. That's the thing too. It's like as they keep going on the series, and we say this, it's just there's so much like just like, okay, we're going to throw another one out here. It doesn't have the same feel as what we saw previously. And for me, like that kind of stems with like when I first saw, I'm gonna put it out here. Like when I first saw a lot of these great movies, like we talk about, like there's movies that stand the test of time. Like, well, it doesn't matter the genre. Like you look at Clueless, and then they try to make like the TV series. Like you had Saved by the Bell, which stands the test of time. Now we have the new Saved by the Bell now that's on Amazon Prime and all this stuff. But it's like, fuck, man. Like they start either remaking these movies or trying to add on to it, and it doesn't have the same feel like when you watch the originals or when you watch something that like for me, I'll give you an example. Like, were you a Saved by the Bell fan?
I was.
Okay. Now, when they did the college years, and it only lasted one season, it was also they canceled due to the ratings, but you knew it was going to lead to Zach and Zach and Kelly getting married. And then they did the new class, and it did not have the same feel because it was all new, different people, and the only two people that were on it that were the original cast were Mr. Belding and Screech.
Yeah.
That was it. You knew what was happening. Like a lot of the TV shows, I didn't even know they did a Clueless TV show till like years later. Like you look at Melissa Joan Hart and her career from Sabrina, from Clarissa Explains It All to Sabrina to where she was at with Melissa and Joey, with her and Joey Lawrence. Like there's so much stuff. Like I'm like for TV in the '90s, like I don't think it compares to what we have now. Like what I should say, I mean that stuff doesn't compare as well because I mean for what we have now with Netflix, everything at our fingertips. What we had in the '90s, it was simpler. And a lot of people love nostalgia. Like a lot of the stuff that they write now, it's just yeah, you know what I'm saying? You could see the differences between what we had back then and what we have now.
Oh, absolutely. I think that goes without saying. And, it's quality has really gone downhill.
Oh yeah, and I mean we're in a society where cancel culture exists, and you have to watch what you say and put into stuff, and things can get heavy. Like back in the '90s, I'll say this right now: everything was more blunt. Like we dealt with more stuff like racial issues and stuff in shows, and really stuff that matters. Like with women, it was like anorexia or breast augmentation or what have you. It was stuff that people can feel and equate to in real life. Now today, you have to be a little bit more careful with stuff, and I'm like, unfortunately, this is stuff that happens in life. You know what I'm saying? We all deal with stuff like this stuff happens. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And that's why one of the things that the 90s had that I miss, TGIF.
I love the TGF, man. Give me some Boy Meets World. Give me the shows after that. Like they had a great lineup of shows that aired that Friday time slot.
And I just miss the sitcoms that and I'm not trying to be, all, Mr. Family Values here because, I'm not.
Yeah, well, Family Matters was a classic show.
We had Family Matters, we had Fresh Prince of Bel-Air,
Yep.
Shows that families could watch together and parents didn't have to worry, they just they didn't. Like you could sit down and watch a show as a family
Yep.
and be okay.
Well, Full House. Full House stands up there. Yep. You can put Full House in there. You can put Family Matters. You can put Fresh Prince, like you mentioned. So I have to ask you though, how about that new Bel Air that they tried to put out there? I tried watching it. I'm like, they totally like made Carlton like like a troubled youth, and I'm like, Carlton was the preppy like guy in there. They fucked it up for me.
I can't.
It's like an altered world. It's like when they're making dude White Men Can't Jump with Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes, and like the whole movie was like great. You know what I'm saying? Rosie Perez and everything that went into that. And then they're doing a new remake now. I think on fucking what is it, Amazon Prime or fucking Hulu or Peacock. Like, what are you doing?
And I will say, TV wise, 90s. I mean, it was towards the end, but we got The Sopranos.
Yep. Woke up this morning.
James Gandolfini, God rest his soul.
Oh, where everybody got pissed because of "Don't Stop." We're now.
Yeah. Let me ask you.
Okay.
I mean, you've seen The Sopranos.
I have the reason why I have my mom was the hugest fan of The Sopranos, and I remember her getting pissed that was the ending of The Sopranos. So I know about The Sopranos.
Let me ask you about the ending.
Okay.
You think he died?
Oh man, you're gonna put me into a corner here. That's a great question. Man, I mean, it cuts so briefly. To be honest with you, with everything that went on in that doggone show, yeah, I would not be shocked if James Gandolfini died. Do you think he died?
Personally, I think, and this is what I love. I love when shows do that. Like they let you kind of come up with your own conclusion.
The cliffhanger, baby.
And in my ending, it was a hit, and his whole family got taken out.
That's a bold prediction. I mean, it's so. And first of all, for those who've not seen The Sopranos, because I know a lot of people in the younger days don't understand. Like, it's one of the greatest mob stories ever, and on HBO. It's one of the greatest shows ever that HBO put out. When around the time you had this, you had Cat House the series, you had Taxi Cab Confessions late at night. Like you had a lot of stuff like HBO put out during that time period.
Oh, and back then HBO had some sketchy stuff.
Yep, they did. Like Cat House the series, like I mentioned, like Taxi Cab Confessions. Like there's a lot of fucked up shit like that goes on, not just in Vegas, but just in general. These fucking Taxi Cab Confessions. There's a lot of fucked up people out there, man.
And now it's like HBO's classy, you got your House of the Dragon, your Game of Thrones, your Westworld, and stuff like that. One of the things that the '90s also had, Home Improvement with Tim Allen.
Oh yeah, Patricia Richardson, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, JTT,
and of course one of the greatest cartoons of all time. Yeah, South Park.
Going down to South Park, going on giving myself time.
To me, it still amazes me that here we are, like 24 years later, and it's still going strong.
Well, there's a lot of topical stuff that they could put out there to make into funny segments and funny episodes.
And they still do it. And you know what? the fact that they are still able to stay relevant after all these years, yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I think it's great.
Well, South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut is still one of my favorite movies ever.
See, I love that they don't have a bias. Like they will literally make fun of anybody.
That was the beauty of it. I mean, being us wrestling fans, the WTF episode, you know what I'm saying? They took his job. They took his job.
Okay, dog.
Jones took his dog. And then friggin' the guy goes in there. This is real wrestling. Mister, I'm going to have to ask you to get your keyboard out of this part. It's funny.
Then he gets hired.
And he gets hired. Oh, God. But that's the thing, too, man. Like, gets hired. That's the funny part about it, like from that cinema, like that cartoon stuff. Like we had cartoons, like I loved, like freaking Nickelodeon in the '90s was great. You had your Kablams, you had your Action Figure Action League Now, you had your Angry Beavers, you had your Ren and Stimpies, you had everything from the cartoon genre up there.
And, you know, Fox, in addition to The Simpsons, they had King of the Hill debuted in '97, which they're trying to bring that back, but without Brittany Murphy and oh God, what's his name? Tom Petty.
Yeah, it doesn't go. Damn it, Bobby. Oh.
That boy ain't right, I'll tell you what.
That's awesome. I mean, Beavis and Butthead also ranks up there. Were you a Beavis and Butthead Do America fan?
Oh yeah.
Cornholio.
But I'll tell you, it's funny that now that we're older, we look at shows like that with adult eyes.
It's like, holy shit.
It's like, my parents let me watch this?
Yep, they did.
Like, really?
I get it.
Like, I see some of the stuff that I was allowed to watch. And I think if I was a parent, I would not let my child watch that.
Parental
No.
controls. Your parental controls.
Would you?
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, my mom, I'll say this, and I love my mom to death. She kind of steered me away from this. Man, folks, this is my mom at the time. Like I remember when Eminem's first CD came out, like the Slim Shady LP, and then you had the Marshall Mathers LP. I have the edited versions of those CDs because my mom didn't want me to hear the curse words. Like, because that's how I was raised. Like, that's how it was. You know what I'm saying? And mind you, Eminem coming out that time period, he offended everybody, and he went after everybody, as I like to call it, angry Eminem. Like you had so many different genres. You mentioned grunge with Nirvana, God rest his soul, Kurt Cobain, and everything from that genre. We had different subsets there. And I mean, for you, like to this day, dude, we don't even know who killed Biggie. We don't know who killed Tupac. It's still one of the most unknown stories ever. Unknown mystery.
What we do know is that Kurt Cobain did not kill himself.
Oh, all right, I'm gonna say it, man. Courtney Love, fucking Courtney Love.
Either I think she had a hand in it. I don't think she did it directly, but
I'm still sticking with Courtney Love had some involvement.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I remember. I'm trying to remember. Was it Biggie that got killed first, or was it Pac? I think Pac got killed first.
Yeah, Pac got killed after the Tyson fight, late '96, and then Biggie got killed in early '97.
Now, I know one of the more popular theories is that Suge Knight had Tupac taken out because Tupac kind of just wanted to be done.
Well, yeah, the story goes like he did the All Eyes on Me album, which had California Love and all those hits on it, and he was sick and tired of doing Death Row, and he wanted to get off of Death Row. And Suge Knight's version is that's bullshit. Pac loved me, I love Pac, he loved being on Death Row. So you don't really know that dichotomy. I mean, they had the All Eyes on Me movie, they had the Notorious movie, and which played a great adaptation of both of their lives, but.
Right.
We still don't know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Tupac was at the rise, and you had the East Coast versus West Coast beef, which, all right, I'm going to put it to you like this. Were you more, I know you're not really that much of a rap guy, but who did you think was better, Tupac or Biggie? Biggie's our East Coast. He's a New Yorker. He's Brooklyn. So Pac, he's East Coast too, but Pac went to the West Coast label. Okay.
I'm going to catch hell for this, but yeah. I was a Pac fan.
I don't hate you for that because here's the thing. I liked them both, but Pac was more philosophical and poetic with his
he told his story.
Yes, Biggie did not. And I love Biggie, but he was very much like very blunt with it. You know what I'm saying? Hypnotized and juicy. If you don't know now, you know. And I love those songs. But yeah, Pac was more philosophical and poetic and storytelling with it.
And I think Pac was way before his time.
Oh, he was, and I think if he was still alive today, he would be mentoring a lot of the rappers that we see nowadays. And I mean, Dr. Dre,
Flat out,
yeah,
rap nowadays sucks.
rap is crap.
I
I hate
rap.
rap. But no, that's the thing. No, I agree with you. Like the mumble rap, and I don't even know who half the rappers are nowadays. I could tell you like Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem. I could tell you Pac and Biggie. I could tell you about Nas and all these rappers that we grew up with. I can't even tell you who the fuck's rapping now, to be honest with you.
Like I hear a name and it's just like, okay, who is that?
Little Nas X, like I know Nas, I don't know Little Nas X.
But you know what? I will say another movie that we got in the late '90s, The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
I love The Mummy. Now, okay, so we had The Mummy, we had The Mummy Returns with The Rock, Hakuna Machete. And then we had no. You're even shaking your head. As soon as I said The Mummy Return. No, there's no.
The movie overall was not bad, but the CGI in that was just god. It was the drizzling shit.
Okay. Well, do you like the fact that they kind of branched off the character of the Scorpion King in The Mummy Returns, and then The Rock did the Scorpion King in '02? Were you a fan of the Scorpion King?
That first one, yes,
The second one, not so much.
or any of the others.
No. I mean, he tried to do like a Mummy years later, right? Like after The Mummy Returns, there was another Mummy like years later with Brendan Fraser, and it wasn't as good.
Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, because they recast the wife, and it was, I think it was in China, maybe.
I think so. And the reason why I bring this up too is like I like, first of all, I like Brendan Fraser. I do. I think from everything that he's done, with what was it, Airheads? It was the Airhead one, right? Airheads. Or yeah, Airheads. He did that. I love that movie. Like I loved everything that he did from The Mummy. And I'll even say this right now because fucking Goldberg made a cameo in this. Do you remember Looney Tunes Back in Action from '03? No, maybe,
I think
yes.
so.
Oh god, it was horrible. But no, I mean you had Brendan Fraser in Bedazzled, him and Elizabeth Hurley, which was a take off the classic Bedazzled. Do you remember Bedazzled with him and Elizabeth Hurley?
Oh yeah,
That was good, and I thought they had great chemistry on screen. But I think Brendan Fraser really killed in a lot of the movies that he was in because like he was just another one that was so good on camera. Do you also remember? And I'm gonna put it to you like this: like I loved anything that also incorporated, like for me, Nickelodeon at the time, I loved Keenan and Kel, and I loved all that, which is now on Netflix. But do you remember how like there was a lot of shows that kind of equated to what Saturday Night Live was, and then
yeah.
they tried to do some more of those later on? Like a lot of the young sketch comedy stuff, we had a lot of good talents, man.
I miss all that from Nickelodeon.
Me too. Like I mentioned, like Keenan and Kel, and we had Danny Tamborelli, Christy Knowings,
I
Josh.
still watch that. I still watch that show.
Like okay, I'm gonna put it to you like this: the '90s one, or like here's the thing: when we got to like 2000, the only OG one that was really on there was Josh Server, and they Fluffy. Gabriel Iglesias was on all that very briefly in 2000, like before he became big. And then they did the. Did you watch the reboot in 2002, or were you kind of like, yeah?
No, I stopped at that point.
It was horrible. Don't watch it, folks. The 2002 version to like whatever it ended, it was horrible. It was not the same. It was not not the same.
And then they tried bringing it back again recently.
Oh god, I tried because Keenan and Kel were behind it on the creative, but I'm like, no, no. I tried, dude. I tried.
To me, it's like that scene in Anchorman when Veronica Corningstone is taken over, and Steve Carell's character just looks at her and just says, "You're not Ron."
That's it. That is a great. That is a great comparison.
It's like
That's
this isn't all that.
this is not all that. Like, here's the thing too. I get me. Like, I tried with the Disney Channel like one more time because we talked about Boy Meets World with Ben Savage, Daniel Fishel, Ryder Strong, Will Friedle. That whole thing from '93 to 2000 gave us great moments from that show. Dude, I tried Girl Meets World. Oh God, it was bad. And they had an episode that everybody was controversial about because the kid had autism, right? And they acted like he was dying. I'm like, people have autism. Like, it's not that big of a deal. You know what I'm saying? It's unfortunate, but people have autism. It's not like this earth-shattering disease. And it ruined it for me. Like the issues that they dealt with from social media and everything, like it ruined it for me. It did. Like that whole series sucked. Don't watch Girl Meets World. Just go watch all the Girl Meets World ones.
And we had the ending of Roseanne, which
Ugh.
I hated how the series ended.
I know there was a lot of stuff with John Goodman, and oh yeah, it just
I do kind of enjoy the Connors. I do kind of enjoy that.
yeah.
But just how Roseanne ended with, you find out that Dan. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Dan died.
That was what I was gonna say, like that he died, and I'm like, no, I don't like how that ended at all. It was just no.
Like you find out basically like the whole last season was just a complete fraud and it never happened.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of endings like that. Like I remember, well, the one that didn't get a proper ending. Like I like the Wayans brothers. I thought what Sean and Marla Wayans did, and God rest his soul, John Witherspoon, they could have went more, but they canceled in like a good time. Like Marlon was doing his acting thing. Here's Sean over here with the newsstand. Like they could have added more funnier stuff to it. They could have done more with it, but it just kind of like fell flat.
And I love that they referenced it in the first Scary Movie.
The Wayans brothers was a good show. We should have got another season. All right, you brought up another one. A Scary Movie. For me, I love Scary Movie 1. Scary Movie 2 is hilarious when they're in the mansion. Scary Movie 3, all right. You know what I'm saying? It had the Ring vibes to it. Scary Movie 4, War of the Worlds, whatever. And then we got the Scary Movie 5. Like, I kind of stopped after like 3 and 4. When did you stop with the Scary Movie stuff?
After 2.
You didn't like Scary Movie 3 with the ring and all that?
I started, like, I would see bits and pieces, but it's just like, oh, this looks stupid.
Well, then they did like superhero movie, they did disaster movie, they did extreme movie, they did all these types of movies. Like, dude, they even did one for Twilight. Vampires suck.
With Ken Jeong.
Oh my God,
Which
yes.
I'm sorry, I will watch anything he is in. I love that guy.
Dude, he's hilarious. And Ken folks, if you've not seen Vampires Suck, just watch it for Ken Jeong because he was the best part of that goddamn movie. He was the best part of that goddamn movie. He was hilarious.
And the one thing I will say the 90s really got right, it gave us the resurrection of James Bond.
Yes, the Bond movies. Yes, 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 yes.
Which of the Brosnan series of movies, GoldenEye.
GoldenEye is the OG for me. Like, I love that one too. I'm right there with you for that.
And have you ever noticed, like, certain decades, like, certain actors will be on top, like, that'll be their thing? Like, 90s was, like, Nicolas Cage and John Travolta.
Okay, I will say this about John Travolta. I remember when Michael came out and he was the angel, and then they did Phenomenon, and he was all over the place for movies. You know what I'm saying? Like, John Travolta could do no wrong in the 90s. Like you mentioned, Nicolas Cage. I remember 8 mm. I remember a lot of those movies that he did that I enjoyed, like and Gone in 60 Seconds in 2000, like right after 8 mm. I mean, here's a rare one. Like I remember Kevin Bacon. Like we all talk about the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon because either way they were in some movie that Kevin Bacon was in. Like Stir of Echoes is a very underrated film that he did in '99 because that was also the same time The Sixth Sense came out. And then they did a sequel that was direct to DVD and it sucked. Like, do you remember like Stir of Echoes and like the Kevin Bacon time period of like all these Kevin Bacon movies?
Yeah, what was it? Hollow Man? You remember that one?
Yes, I remember Hollow Man. That was another big one, but yeah, there were not a lot of bad movies with that. And I mean, all right, I'm a Anthony Hopkins guy. We talk about fava beans and the Silence of the Lambs, and you mentioned Hannibal to me. That was in '01. I was like, did you like the sequel to that? Because I remember seeing the sequel when I was younger.
So I saw all the Hannibal Lecter movies. From Mindhunter to Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, then Red Dragon, then Hannibal Rising,
Yes.
and I like Hannibal. It took a couple. It took some risks that didn't pay off. I don't think.
Right.
But we got Gary Oldman.
True. Okay.
Initially his name was not on the credits.
It was not. No, that's right. I remember hearing about this.
He didn't like the movie.
Uh, yeah. Well, all right, I'll make a music reference to that. Do you remember, like, Shaggy? Shaggy was very popular. I mean, Long Island guy like you and I.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me, of course. But Boombastic, it wasn't me. Love Me, Sex Machine, which Janet Jackson was on. But then they did another version with Samantha Cole. But Janet Jackson and Shaggy hated each other on the set of that video. Like, both versions were great songs, but yeah, you saw more of the Samantha Cole than the Janet Jackson one because Janet Jackson hated Shaggy, and they did not get along at all. But it wasn't me, Rick Rock, Angel, You're My Darling Baby, the whole nine there. Shaggy was another one, man.
It wasn't me.
Yet you caught me on the counter, it wasn't me. Somebody hissing on the sofa, it wasn't me. Like that video, like that entire video was great of him just trying to find out ways to get away from getting caught. You know, oh God. Here's the thing: we were 8 years old. I was 8 years old singing that song, man. The songs that we had back in the day, dude. If we did these, if they came out now,
Do you remember the thong song?
Cisco, that thong, the thong, thong.
Like, what a stupid. I mean, that was almost as bad as "Can't Touch This."
Down. Okay, I'll do you one better. When MC Hammer changed his name to just Hammer, and we had Pumps and a Bump, Pumps and a Bump. What? We like the girls with the pumps and a bump.
And Ice Baby.
Too cold. I like Vanilla. Here's the thing: he did like a rock version of that later. Years later, it was like Vanilla Ice, Baby, and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing trying to make this song like a rock song, Mr. Vanilla Ice, Mr. Robbie Van Winkle? Ugh. But no, I got to mention Cisco again, not just because of the thong song. Dude, that album, Unleash the Dragon, like just in itself, the name of the album, Unleash the Dragon. Like, he broke away from Drew Hill and he did his solo thing for a little bit. But Thong Song, if you put that out now, oh my God. Oh my God.
They'd come for him.
Oh my God. Of course they would, because, oh my God, what are you doing? You're objectifying women. I'm like, it's a fucking song. Women are, first of all, and you know me, Mr. Beauty, Strength and Dominance over here. I love women, like you love women, but it's not that serious. You know what I'm saying? It's showcasing the external beauty and the sexiness. Like, I hate to tell people, but sex sells. Sex sells.
In the era of, cinema and music,
Yeah,
it does. Like,
it does.
you may not like it, do I think that they have made decisions that have been highly questionable and
Yes.
downright offensive? Yeah.
Mhm.
But at the same time, somebody's buying it.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll put a reference out here. Like, I remember, like, if you look at like '99 R&B, like I'm an R&B guy. You know, Montel Jordan, This Is How We Do It.
Yeah.
He came out with a song in '99 called "Get It On Tonight," and the message behind the song is, "Girl, if it's all right, let's go somewhere and get it on tonight. I got a girl, but you look good tonight." He's pretty much telling you again, as a 7-year-old, I'm singing this song, and you look at it years later, like, what the fuck? He's pretty much talking about, I got a girl, but you look good. I'm gonna cheat on my girl.
Yeah.
Like, it was popular, man. Like, this is what we had.
We had what else do we had? We had Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp.
Yes, one of my favorite Johnny Depp movies.
Oh yeah. We also had the re-releases of Star Wars,
Oh,
original trilogy, which unfortunately now, if you were to go to like a Target or a Walmart or any place that has physical media, which I don't even know who has them anymore,
right.
and you wanted to buy the original trilogy, you are buying the versions that were in the theaters in the 90s.
That's the thing too. For me, I'm gonna put this like this. Like, I mean, we talk about the art of film and getting released to video. Like, a lot of people don't understand like those like taping shows and seeing their movies, like you mentioned, like that were in the theaters. People don't understand the art of the VHS and like Blockbuster and Hollywood Video and how big they were.
Those were
Like,
the days.
those were the days. Like, people like nowadays they don't understand about renting movies and then you got to rewind the tape back. Like, those were the days. It was a Blockbuster night, Friday nights, just going over to your buddies or just renting a movie from Blockbuster, which I don't even know. Is there even one even still around anymore? I think
There is one.
okay, where?
Last I knew, let me see where it is. Last remaining.
Blockbuster. I mean, there's got to be somewhere because I remember Hollywood Video, which is no
It's
longer
in Bend, Oregon.
Bend. Oh, there's a Bend, Oregon. Oh my God, there's one in Bend, Oregon. Wow. Out of all the places left, Oregon. Now, all right, look up. Is there a Hollywood Video still around there? Is there still any more Hollywood Videos out there? Because I'm curious, folks, because these were the big hot spots of what we had back in the day for renting movies and stuff. Like,
No.
There's no more Hollywood Videos. Okay.
Their last store closed on July 31st, 2010.
Wow. Okay. Fair enough. And where was their last store located?
I believe in Los Angeles.
Okay. Fair enough. But that's
which is fitting.
Which is very fitting. Hollywood Video. All right. I'm going to put this to you like this because if you look at another Hollywood, have you ever been to Planet Hollywood?
Planet Hollywood. Yes, I saw one down south. I forget where.
Okay, so here in Myrtle Beach, there was a Planet Hollywood. It's not here anymore. It's now like an ale house. So going into Planet Hollywood.
That's where I was, Myrtle Beach.
You were Daniel Crimmins. All right, so you were at the Planet Hollywood that I think we're talking about here, folks. So where it's like probably. Yes, I remember there was one at Broadway at the beach, like right by Broadway at the beach. There was a big one. So you go in. There's the merch. There's the freaking dining experience. If you've never been to a Planet Hollywood, for those who have been, you're missing out because it's a hell of a place. Planet Hollywood is the shit.
And fun story.
Okay, hit me.
Do you remember a little movie with an actor by the name of Terry Bollea?
Yes. Which Hulk Hogan movie? There was Suburban Commando, Mr. Nanny. Which one?
I'm referring to the timeless classic that is No Holds Barred.
It's No Holds Barred.
The championship that they used for that one,
okay,
was actually the one that initially was meant for Andre the Giant back from WrestleMania 3.
Okay.
It was on loan to Planet Hollywood.
Okay.
And I believe it was at the Myrtle Beach location. I don't know where it got moved to or who currently has it.
That's a Hidden Treasures episode. That is a Hidden Treasures episode. I wonder what the hell happened to that. Okay.
But, you know, the 90s, again, wild freaking time. And, you know, when I was saying about Star Wars, they screwed them up. They were fine.
Well, again, this is the time period of we got to remake everything. And then remake everything.
But you know what we did get in the 90s? Maybe you remember, maybe you don't. The Ninja Turtles movies, the live actions from the early 90s.
Those were good. I mean, again, that was before I was born, but yeah, I remember watching those later on. And I remember, okay, I'm going to put this here because we mentioned Batman. Like, I remember watching the Batman Beyond cartoon. Like, do you remember the Batman cartoons? Oh my God, those were so good.
Kevin Conroy, God rest his soul.
God rest his soul. Yeah. I mean, oh God, man, it's just wild times. And for me, all right, I'm going to mention music here. So Soul Train was big in the 70s, you know, with Don Cornelius and everything. So the version I got when I was growing up was the one that had like, oh God, there was like a lot of guest hosts on here, but Shamar Moore, who would go on to be on Criminal Minds, hosted that for like a little bit. Do you remember Shamar Moore hosting Soul Train?
That I do.
Oh my God, folks. The WB on like a Saturday afternoon, like that block that they had, Soul Train used to come on at like 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Take me back. Take me back.
What and of course, one of I think the greatest action movies to come out of the 90s, Terminator 2.
Judgment Day, baby.
Absolutely, I think the best one they had.
Well, some people argue like the first one, but I'm like, that's good. But when we got to like Judgment Day, that was the shit. Daniel Furlong. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Were you a fan of Rise of the Machines, Terminator 3?
You know what I did? I liked it. It was something different.
Hmm.
I even liked Terminator Salvation.
I didn't hate that one. I really didn't. A lot of people gave that movie crap, but it was not that bad.
And let's not forget the Texas Chainsaw Massacres that we got in the 90s.
Ooh. I mean, you had like the Blair Witch Project, and then you had the Texas Chainsaw Massacres. Yeah, it was okay. I didn't hate him.
And particularly, I think this is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4, maybe? Talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation.
Yeah, that was the fourth one. Yeah, that was the fourth.
Now, folks, to give you an idea to kind of the background here, this movie, though it was released in '95, actually came out in or was shot in '94,
Right.
and it featured Renee Zellweger
Hmm.
and Mr. All Right, All Right, All Right.
Matthew McConaughey. Yep.
Now they shelved the movie because nobody wanted to, pay the money to put it out.
Right.
So then, come '95, Renee Zellweger strikes it big with Jerry Maguire, and I forget what movie it was that McConaughey had at the time, but each of them had a hit.
Well, McConaughey did a lot of movies. There was Ed TV. There was a lot of movies that he did back in the day that was very much a hit. Like Matthew McConaughey was everywhere. But for me, Renee Zellweger. I mean, she did Bridget Jones' Diary later on. But dude, Jerry Maguire, a young Jonathan Lipnicki, You Complete Me, like that, and Show Me the Money with Kurt Gooding Jr. Like that will still be an all-time classic. Like Jerry Maguire, man.
Oh yeah, and now sudden there's this studio. All of a sudden, it's like, wait a minute, we've got this movie
Yep.
that they were in.
Yep.
We got to put it out, and now all of a sudden they find a buyer to distribute it, and representatives for both McConaughey and Zellweger were like, yeah, no, you can't put this out.
Right.
And they sued to stop the release. But I mean, the studio, it was within their right to put it out.
It was, but that's the thing too. It's like you want stuff to be stopped, and I mean, speaking of stuff to be stopped, and I mean, I'll put this out there. Like when you had a lot of sex tapes that came out in the '90s, like friggin' Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson, fucking Tanya Harding, and all these fucking sex tapes that came out in the '90s. Like you can tell me, man, that was a time period when also stuff that came out that people did not want to have come out. Like it was a time period, man.
And now there are ones that you wish hadn't come out.
Yep. Oh yeah. I mean, God
Hogan.
rest. Feel like a pig, brother. Feel like a pig, brother. And you can't tell me that he didn't know, because then that whole thing with Bubba the Love Sponge happened, and it was just, oh god, that was something.
Who's to say? Maybe he did, but he's made some shit movies.
Who, Hulk Hogan?
Yeah,
Ah,
Suburban Commando,
Mr. Nanny,
brother.
brother. Oh, dude, he was in Muppets from Space. Remember friggin' the Muppets from Space with Jeffrey Tambor? He made that cameo. I'm a bad guy now, brother.
Now, Suburban Commando, for those that don't know, also had Shelley Duvall
Yep.
and
Christopher.
this guy. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Guy by the name of Mark Calloway.
The Undertaker was in Suburban Commando as a bad guy, and his voice, that voice, dude, that came out with fucking The Undertaker.
The one and only, the Phenom. Now, I don't think he was the Undertaker yet.
He might have been Kane the Undertaker. This came out in like 1990. I think he wasn't in. No, I think he had just come into WWE. This was
Yeah,
after.
I think they needed somebody for the role, and they're like, "Hey, what about this guy?"
You be a bad guy to Hulk Hogan. You.
But it worked.
It did. Christopher Lloyd was in that movie too, which was another one that was a classic.
And did you notice that it seemed like the '90s was like the era of disaster movies?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this right now. I love Back to the Future, but once we got to the Old West, that took me out of it.
Like we got Dante's Peak, we got Volcano,
Yep.
and of course my personal favorite, Independence Day.
Yes. Welcome to Earth. Welcome to Earth.
Great movie.
Like, if you've not, what a Will. Okay, we'll talk about this. Will Smith's movies: Independence Day, Men in Black. Like Bad Boys, you had a lot of great Will Smith movies that came out around that time. Wild Wild West, a lot of people crap on.
Nowadays, Will Smith needs a win.
He does. Well, I mean, when 2000, I liked Hitch with him and Kevin James. That was not bad.
No. But dude needs a win.
He does. After everything that he's been through, oh my God.
But, we, and of course, 90s also the era of Adam Sandler.
All right. Happy Gilmore for me. Excellent. Billy Madison. A Wedding Singer.
Waterboy.
Water sucks. It really, really sucks.
With a cameo by good old Paul White.
Captain Atheno shows no mercy.
No mercy.
Powerbomb, courtesy of Captain Atheno. I'm 31 years old. I bet that guy's still a virgin.
Yeah.
Just Big Show. Yeah. Oh, God. But no, that's the thing, too. Like, Adam Sandler. All right. A lot of people talk about how Adam Sandler wasn't funny after that. Like, Mr. Deeds, Crazy Stupid Love. No, it was not Crazy Stupid Love. Whatever the one he did. What was it, like Punch Drunk Love or something like that?
Yeah.
He did 8 Crazy Nights, which was not bad. But, I mean, he had a lot of funny stuff. But, like, once we got to, like, That's My Boy and, like, Jack and Jill, it kind of went down a little bit.
Yeah.
It did.
Another great 90s movie, and I think it doesn't get enough credit, The Usual Suspects.
That was a really good movie. Yeah.
Just the ending, which, folks, I'm not even going to spoil it for you.
Don't spoil it.
It is an incredible movie.
I mean, for me, like, you talk about, like, the frigging cast of people that were in that movie. Kevin Spacey, Benicio del Toro. Like, oh, my God, it's a classic. Kevin Pollak.
Back when Kevin Spacey was, well, yeah.
Yeah. But that was the time period, man. And I mean, another one I will mention that I really have to, like, put out there. Like, we talk about movies like from the 90s that surmised it. Like, I love, like we mentioned, Independence Day. We talk about all these movies. Fight Club. Like, Brad Pitt was in, like, a lot of the classics too.
Wait, Mike, don't talk about it.
We don't talk about Fight Club. For me, like I mentioned, Anthony Hopkins. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's kind of like a chick movie, but it resembles like Death Takes a Holiday. Have you ever seen Brad Pitt, Anthony Hopkins, Claire Forlani meet Joe Black? Have you ever seen it's one of those ones where it's a roller coaster ride of, okay, she meets Brad Pitt, he dies, death takes the form of Brad Pitt, they bring each other together. Anthony Hopkins is dying. And spoiler alert, he dies at his birthday party. And then the guy that she met at the coffee shop, that Brad Pitt, comes back, and it's a whirlwind of emotions for 3 hours. I remember it because we have the VHS. We'll talk about the VHS tape here. This was back in the day where it was a 3-hour movie, and you had 2 VHSs in there, folks. One VHS for part 1 and one VHS for part 2. Like, were you a fan of the Meet Joe Black movie?
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite, but it wasn't bad.
It was not. And I mean, you had stuff like that. Like, do you think there was more storytelling in the 90s than what we have now?
Easily,
yes.
It was more commonplace back then. I mean, now you still kind of get it, but
dude, I watched Creed 3. And here's the thing. I like the Creed movies, and I love the Rocky movies, even Rocky 5. Tommy Gunn only fights in the ring. My ring's outside. Oh, yeah, let's do it. Like, even Rocky 5. I'll take Rocky 5, even though it was a street fight. But the Creed movies, like, I just saw Creed 3, and for those who haven't seen it, it's excellent. But it's one of the things where it's like it's hard because there's no Sylvester Stallone in it. Yeah. You know, it's hard to not do it because of Sylvester Stallone. But it was good, and I will say this: I think you can agree with me. Like, the Creed movies are good, but without Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah. No, good movies.
All right. And I think that really sums up what the 90s was. Good movies, a lot of good music, and I'm going to say this right now, TV as well, but an era where it was simpler times. There was not a lot of internet. I mean, there was the start of the internet. We had Napster, which Lars Ulrich got pissed about, and rightfully so. They were taking music. Like, that was the big thing, like the start of the internet and Napster.
Now, Mike, it just occurred to me, there was a movie we would be remiss if we did not discuss.
Okay, which one? Go ahead.
And it's kind of relevant now with current events.
Hit me.
Titanic.
Oh man, you're gonna go there. Okay, yeah. Leonardo DiCaprio, just that whole movie, and people still talk about it to this day. They talk about Celine Dion, "My Heart Will Go On." That movie in
Which is
itself.
now back on the charts.
Damn it. Here's the thing. I don't hate that song, but dude, it got overplayed quickly for me, man. It did. It's a James Cameron movie, folks. Titanic. It's a classic. Especially Kate Winslet was fucking gorgeous. Still drop dead gorgeous. And everything that we saw now, it really does fit after friggin' almost 30 years.
Now, funny thing is that I saw laugh, and I think it's highly relevant.
Okay.
The Door.
The door. You're gonna go to the door. Okay.
The reason people still say, "Well, Jack could have been on that door."
Yes, no.
James Cameron actually did the experiment. Mythbusters did the experiment. There's no way.
No. The door. I can't believe you're bringing up the door. There's no way. There absolutely is no way that he's behind the door. People, just give it up already with that. Just give it up with the door. Just give it up.
And he said in an interview, he said, I can't believe after all these years, they're still talking about that door.
Ugh.
And he said, people ask me all the time about Titanic, and they said the one question is about that stupid door.
Well, I will say this about doors. There's a lot of doors that were open in the 90s that brought us to where we are today. That still fills. I mentioned Napster and music, everything from that time that brought us the early days of streaming. But dude, the 90s was a time period, man, of everything that really solidified what is today. I will say the big thing, like we talked about, not everybody was, upset and poo-pooed and easily offended. And I don't mean this as a diss, but it was a different time period. There was questionable stuff, but it's like, folks, it was a time period. There was no social media. The internet wasn't as big as it was, and like Vanilla Ice said in his video, before computers ruined everything.
Yeah.
It's a simpler time, but it was a good time, and I think that is the perfect way to end this show. And before we close this out, folks, if you've not checked out our Uncaged special, go out of your way because we're coming back with season 2, and check out everything on the Mike Larkin YouTube channel. There's a lot of wrestling stuff. There's pop culture. There's interviews. It is a good time to put out the content. And there's other content that's coming out because, Daniel, I'm going to have you do the plug as always. You are going to be a part of Max Wrestling's Trivia Takeover next week. You and Moses Marquez and the King of the Ring. Not the King of the Ring. There I go. King of the Ring. The King of the Mic semifinals. Well, it is the King of the Ring. The King of the Mic semifinals with Moses Marquez. How you feeling going into it?
We'll see.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And what happened on Max as well, I will address this. Now, let me tell you something here. Dazzy Dangerously challenging me for their Fight for the Knowledge special for the TV title. Let me tell you something here. Dazzy Dangerously and I have known each other for 7 years. He's been through me for the peaks and valleys. We've been through the trenches. He's one of my dear friends. And even at a time in my life, and you know this as well, where I was going through some demons, and I will say this to folks, God, first of all, not just God is good, but if you have a problem, talk about it. And what's great about stuff that happened in your past, it's a learning experience, and you grow, and it makes you become a better person. And I thank God for that every day. Dazzy's been with me through everything. You've been through me with everything. But here's the thing. I'm in a time in my life now where I got a great position with the LFC, Lingerie Fighting Championships. It's the respect and the obligation I have for these women. And I'm on CCW covering a lot of great shows, one of the hottest rising female wrestling promotions out there. Dude, I'm all over the place. And the reason I put it like this is, let me tell you something. The Max Wrestling Podcast is something that I enjoyed doing, and it's something that was great to be a part of. Do I miss it? Hell yeah. But as we know, work comes in the way. I got a job. And unfortunately, stuff couldn't happen. Like, I would love to be on it, but I can't as much as I used to. And much as it was great to do the promo with you, which go back and watch it because we killed it. And I'm grateful that Dazzy put me on the show to do that. Same with Rob Davis.
Every freaking time.
Everything in time, man. But let me say this, man. Dazzy, I don't know why you want to face me at this Fight for the Knowledge. Now you want me to fight you. You and I did our thing 3 years ago when it was you as the shape against me. And I love that time period. But, dude, I'm a different guy. The podcast machine guy is dead. You know what I'm saying? It was a time. It was fun, but like why? You know what I'm saying? I'm old news now with that show. You got a lot of crap of talent there that's still there, and now you want to face me, man. I don't even know why, but he wants to face me now. And I look at it from a stance too. You're on that show, man, almost all the time. What in the world? Now he wants to challenge me for this. Do I want to? I don't know. I really don't know. Just the reason I put it out there is like, why? You know what I'm saying? What's the reason for it? But if he, yeah,
What point and purpose?
I don't know. But he wants to fight for the knowledge. Well, I'll think about it. But like, is what it is. I really truly wish him the best because let me tell you something about Dazzy Dangerously. The man gave me my logo for LFC. He's given my logos for all the shows that you see. The dude is a whiz with the graphics and stuff. The man is awesome. But I don't know. My answer is a retort. Why, Dazzy?
What I will say to him
Go ahead.
is the amount of dedication that he puts in to Max, to the show that he and I do, Throne Zone, which is currently on hiatus because it's HBO's taking their sweet ass time getting the season out. I get it, but I don't like it. But he gives so much.
He does, and he mentioned it on this last show where he talks about the phone and how technology has advanced with this beautiful thing here. He puts so much into it. Like, I'll be honest, the reason why I got a lot of the editing stuff that I do with this show and everything, I learned from the best. He's the master of that. But god dang it, man. I mean, Daz, you really want to do this again? I'll be honest, I don't think a lot of people want to see this because you got a lot of new people there. I mean, if people want to see it, fine, but my answer is this. I retort, why? And if people want to see it, I'll think about it, but I mean, that's fight for the knowledge. And, well, you're the one that's currently up here in the semifinals of the King of the Mic. So it's going to be very interesting times to see what goes on there. But that's my follow Max Wrestling. Go ahead.
But, I can't give him enough credit. I look at what he does and I think I couldn't do it.
He's the man, and that's all I really can say is follow Max Wrestling, check out what he does, and check out my work on Max because that man gave me an opportunity, even when at times, like I mentioned there, like my stuff should not have been up there, but he is. So I thank you for that. But as far as this challenge goes, I don't know. So I'll leave it at that. But god dang it, man, what we do here is this pop culture show. We do a lot of great stuff. Follow Dan on Instagram. Your link will be in the description. Now, you, my friend, not only are doing that, plug. I know y'all did a review not too long ago for the TSK. Like, I know there's a lot of shows that aren't out yet, but check out what Dan's done on the TSK. You guys provide a lot of great fun for that.
Yeah, we do. I'm not sure when we're going to be doing it. We're doing it tomorrow after Forbidden Door, but we will have a review of Forbidden Door coming, which, is not far away in good old Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
As we're recording this show, tomorrow is Forbidden Door. And this show will be out this week. So for those who watch Forbidden Door, when we get into the wrestling talk at Uncaged, we'll have more onto it and what we got, especially with our show coming about Jeff Hardy. Yeah, it's going to be something. But I know.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It is what it is. But just keep subscribing. We're up to 539 subscribers here on this YouTube channel. Let's keep going up and up. Man, the best part about starting this over again, man, is now just seeing people come on the up and up and really get into it, which I thank you guys because I've been doing this thing for 7 years and I love what I do. I love the people that I work with. So to close this out, follow the show. Check out some pop culture. Check out everything that we do. Check out and support podcasting. That's the big thing because we're all in the same community, right? Support the podcasting, man. Get the people the platforms.
Support fellow creators. Subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's that little button that's usually right at the bottom there, and of course the bell.
Subscribe. Hit the bell, man. Hit the bell.
Hit the bell so that whenever you see, if you want to see our handsome faces, you can do that. You can see Mike do what he does. You can see us do what we do. And let's be real. Ain't nobody do it like we do.
Hell no. Hell no.
To the no.
Okay, Bishop Bullwinkle. So on hell no to the no. We're taking that victory. This concludes another edition of the Pop Culture History Podcast. I'll be back with more reviews whenever I get the chance to, but y'all will see some more. Just check out my last episode talking about the Backstreet Boys, and then check out my Backstreet Boys talk with On the Mic with my girl Shay. Oh, man. Well, you know me. I'm a boy band guy. That's what I do. So for Daniel Crimmins, my name is Mike Larkin. Pop Culture History Podcast. We're out. We'll see you for Uncaged coming back for season 2 real soon. Jeff Hardy, say what?